Hilches Metame Mishkav Umoshav Pedig Chi. Now we learned that Hesed, Azov is Metame Behesed. It's a Chiddush by Azov that when he moves an item, if the item is a person or a Keli or a Chloromashkin, so it's Kilu, he touched the item and Memele is Tomei. Now, Al Derech Zel, if he bangs something and that item moves, so it's also, since it's moved Mikoichai, something that moves Mikoichai also has a din of a Hesed Azov, and Hesed Azov is Metame, becomes as if he was Negea in the item, and the item becomes a Rishon L'Tumah. Now we're learning that there's a musik called Koyach Koichai. Koyach Koichai means it didn't come directly from the Koyach. The Koyach went into one thing, and from that thing went into another thing. And the example would be if you have, for example, a table that's firmly attached to the ground, and you go ahead, and there's something lying on this table. So then you go ahead and bang on this table. So if you bang on the table, the bang on the table, since the table is a heavy table and it's firmly attached to the ground, so that bang is not really enough to go ahead and move the item which is on the table. It's just that since you banged very strongly, so like it caused a certain vibration in the ground which was under the table, and as a result of that, the table also shakes, and the mela, so the item also shakes. So it's not going directly from your koyach onto the item. Your koyach went into the table, onto the ground, and then as a result of that, the item moved. B'medvar mamurim, when we're dealing, when the table itself is firmly standing on the ground, it's attached to the ground, so therefore we're not going to say your koyach moved the item, rather your koyach went into the table, into the ground, and then the item moved. Masha'inkin, if they were talking about a table which is a shvacha table, it's not standing so firmly on the ground, so then when you bang the table, so you directly are causing the item on the table to move. So Mamela, we're saying, if in the first case where the table is steady and it's firm, so Mamela, so obviously when the item moved on the table, it's considered not directly from the keach, but rather koyach koychay, so then that doesn't have too much hesed, and therefore the item will be tor. Even if that item fell off the table, but Lepel, it didn't fall off the table directly from your keach went into the table, and from the table it went back into the item. Masha'inkin, if the table is not firm, so Memela, it comes out that you caused that item to shake, and that's considered that your keach directly caused that item to shake, so then it's tumas hesed. That's this the Peirik Chi Alach Aleph. Dover Shahaya Mechuber Ba'aretz a Mesumer B'masmer. You have something which is attached to the ground or is banged in with nails, so it depends. Im hoye koich for yove v'chazek, it's something that's a strong item, it's a strong table, for example. The hikesh olav azov, and the zov banged on this item, which was connected to the ground. Ube'ei shehikesh, and while he banged on this item, heinet keli a echlon amashkin mikeach hakasei. As a result of that, food or kalim moved as a result of his banging, pilon, or he caused the kalim or the food to fall down. So nevertheless, even though the zav caused them to fall down, so the din is harelu terim detor. However, if we're dealing with an item which is not a strong item, elam is nadnid, the item al chatchila is shockling, and the hikish olav azov, and then the zav banged on it, the hipile heinid bekeach hakasei, kalim ayechl mashkin, and then he caused kalim ayechl mashkin to move, which is on a table, which is not steadfast, it's not firm. So then is harei alutmeim, is kilu isitam. Why? Shaharei mekechin, of course it fell mekechin. So in the case where the item was strong, yofa v'chazak, so even though the kalim moved, it's not considered that it moved from the hesed hazov. It's not considered that the zov had a direct connection to that movement. Masha'inkin, when we're dealing with an item which is mlechatchila not chazak, and then the person bangs, and as a result of the bang, things moved, either the keli or food moved, so then we consider that it's mikechi nafal, and therefore it's considered hesed. Zaklal. Kol shenafal mikeach hesete. So in other words, it's something that fell as a result of the keach of his hesed, or the fact that he banged and he moved it. That's why it fell, is tummy. However, mikeach hara'ada, as a result of the tremor, in other words, lapel, you didn't really have a direct cause to the keli or to the eichel. You had a direct cause on the item. The item had like a tremor because the pill, and memela, as a result of that, it went ahead and it caused something on the kelim and the oichlin. So then it's Torah. Ketzad. So the Ram gives an example. Hikish al ilon oisoicha shekoichen ra. Before we were speaking about that there's an ilon or a seicha with keichen ra. Before we were talking about when the Zov and the Torah were both climbing it. Over here we're talking about banging an ilon or a seicha shekeichen ra. Oy al sulam mitzri, which is a small sulam, she'ene kavua b'masmer, which is not attached with a nail. Eyal kerev v'delos v'kevesh she'ene muchubarim b'tit. These are all these cases that we mentioned before, which is considered keichen ra. So when two people go up on it, so we assume that each one is causing the other one to shake. Oy shehikish al hanager al hamanul v'hal hamoshet. So he went ahead and banged on the nager. Nager is the door stopper, or the manul is the lock, or the hamoshet is the oar which you're moving the ship. Ubishor shehikish hipul oichlin umashkin ekelim, and afilu hinidam v'lei naflu, while you were banging, so you caused oichlin mashkin to fall, or you caused them to shake even if they didn't fall. So the din is areilut meim, they're tummy, and the reason for it is because we look at it as the fact that these things shook came as a direct result of your banging. Since we're dealing with situations which aren't firm, so therefore we look at this shaking as a direct result of your banging. If we're talking about a tree or a branch which is a firm tree or branch, or a ladder which is connected with nails, or we're dealing with a morish, which a morish is a large beam, a beam which supports the building. And while you banged on these things, you caused Eichlon Mashkin to shake. Afilu ipilon, even if you caused Eichlon Mashkin to actually fall. So the din is arelu teirim v'chein kol kiyetzebelu. So the kudas advarim is there are certain things that we look at that the movement of the item came mikoyach of the person that banged, and since it came mikoyach of the person that banged, so therefore that item, so it has a din that he was mesit, he moved that item because it came directly from the keach that he banged, and therefore that item becomes tummy because he's a zov, he's matami beheset. Mashenkin, if it didn't come directly from the keach of your bang caused something to happen in the item which is mechuber, and that item had a tremor, and then that tremor of the item, it's not directly from your keach, the tremor of the item causes those things to shake or those things to fall, so then it's harei lo teirim v'chein kol kiyetzebelu. Halacha beis. And one of those things is also a tanner. A tanner we assume is something which is firm, and memela, since it's firm, so memela, so if a person bangs on the tanner, and as a result of that, things fall from the tanner, so nevertheless, lapel, since lapel, the tanner is a firm thing, item, so we assume that it didn't come directly from the bang, it came as a result, as we're saying, the tremor that happened from as a result of the bang, and that tremor caused the other thing to shake. So memela, so that's not tummy. Halacha beis. Tanur shoisa pas dvukabe. They have bread that's inside the tanner is connected to the wall of the tanner. And v'hivkish ala tanner. You went ahead and banged on the tanner. V'nofel kikar, and a kikar fell inside the tanner. A kikar fell. So the chura, the person that banged, caused the kikar to fall. And afilo hoisa truma, even if the kikar is truma, so the chura is a chash. If it's tummy, so it's a very serious chash. So the din is no areza tor, because we say since a tanner is a firm keli, it's firmly attached to the ground, so we don't look at it as his banging directly caused this pas to fall down, so therefore would be considered the Heset Hazov. We say this bang caused that the tanner should shuckle, and that it should have some type of a shuckle, and memela, and from the shuckle of the tanner, eventually it caused that these things should fall down. Now that's talking about if it was actually attached to the tanner and it fell off the tanner. Now v'mhoye cheres min tanner medubek b'kikar shenafal. So in other words, the kikar fell off, and it didn't fall off only as a kikar. There was like a piece of a little piece of the tanner that peeled off together with the kikar. So basically, we see from here is that your bang caused that the side of the tanner should fall off. A little piece of the side of the tanner should fall off, and together with the side of the tanner fell off also the kikar. So over here, afilo hayechulin, even if the kikar was chulin, is hareza tummy is tummy, because since we see that there was a piece of the tanner that was really disconnected with the tanner, so we say that piece was taka directly a result of your banging. Your banging directly caused that that piece should fall off the tanner, because we see that it fell off the tanner. Some learn that this is a din d'rabbanan, but I'll call upon him. This piece fell off the tanner, so we look at this piece that fell off the tanner directly related to your bang, and Memela, the kikar, which was connected to that piece, which fell off the tanner, which was directly related to your bang, is also considered the haset of the zov. Memela, that kikar is tummy, even if that kikar is a kikar from chulun. Halachi gimel. Eina mishkav ea merkav mitame kelim or eichlun o mashkin ella b'maga bilvad. So we learned before in the beginning of the previous parak that when you have a mishkav a merkav azov, so a person can become tamei from this mishkav a merkav azov b'zayin drachim. Either the 5 ways that he could be matame mishkav, there's either yishechev or yeshev or nishan or toila or oimed, those 5 ways plus mago masa. So these are the 5 ways that the mishkav and merkav could cause a person to become tamei. Now we're talking about not a person, we're talking about kelim and oichlin or mashkin. So in order for Mishkav Umoshav to cause Eichlin and Mashkin to become Tamei, the only way is by Maga, because there's no musig that the Eichlin and Mashkin are sitting on this Keli, which is Mishkav Umoshav. That's a din especially by an Adam, that's number 1. And also there's no din of these items being noisei the Mishkav. An Adam could be noisei some Mishkav, and an Adam could be Yoishev ala Mishkav. So either way, he'll be Tomei. Masha'inkin, in order for a Keli to become Tomei from the Mishkav, the only way the Keli will become Tomei from the Mishkav if he's in a Gebe Mishkav. Nachamo. Eina Mishkav, Ea Merkav, Metame Kelim, Eichlon Mashkin, Ella B'maga Bilvad. The only way is through Maga. Avalim Hoyu Kelim, Eichlon Mashkin, L'mailim Namedres, they were on top of the Medres. Eisha Hoyu Amedres, L'mailim Hem, or the Medres was on top of them. So, Afilu Lehifsik B'neim Ela Niyar, aber lepel that there's no din of noise is hail v'lei nagabam, since lepel this oichlun mashkin didn't touch this mishkav or merkav, is harei loterim. V'chein in heset hamishkav is akelim is oichlun v'mashkin is also harei loterim. I mean, normally you say heset means he moved it. Now, but we're talking about if there's a mishkav that somehow or another the kelim or the oichlun mashkin were like lying on top of it, and the mishkav Umoshav moved. So the Mishkav Umoshav moved those kelim. So there's no musig of Tumas Hesed. Tumas Hesed means a Zov could be Metame Tumas Hesed. When the Zov moves an item, so that item is kilo as he touched the item. Mashenk in the Mishkav Azov, Merkav Azov, there's no musig of Tumas Hesed. Memela, the fact that the Mishkav Umoshav are moving, and on top of it there's an item which is moving with it, doesn't cause the Tumah. Bekitzer, the only way Mishkav Umoshav could be Metame Oichlon Mashkin or Kelim is only through Negia, not through anything else. A person could become Tamei from Mishkav Umoshav through 7 ways. And Eichlon Mashkin and Kelim could be Tamei from Mishkav Umoshav only through 1 way, through Negia. Halacha Dalet. Hazov v'hator sheyoshvu b'svina ktana hayichelu lahamid ba'adam echad. The 2 of them are sitting on a ship which could be managed by 1 person. So it's not a large ship. We're talking about a small ship. A ba'azdor, they're sitting on a raft together. A shirachva al gabi behema, or they're riding on a behema together. Is afal pi she'im bigdeim negen ze bezer, even though their begadim aren't touching each other, but nevertheless, hari bigder hator tmei medres. The bigder hator has the din of tmei medres v'tumas and besafik, because shem medoris hazav aleim, because we're concerned that maybe the zav stepped on it. If in the svina, maybe he stepped on it. On the behema, maybe he sat on it, and then it would be a tamei tumas medres. Now, l'chura, the 2 of them are sitting on a ship together. So the pashtus, the Torah is tummy. The Torah is tummy because either the Torah moved the Zav or the Zav moved the Torah. So Mela, the Torah becomes tummy al Rishon l'tumah. But he's not matami his begadim. He's not a Zav, so he's not matami his begadim. And so Mela, he himself is a Rishon l'tumah. The pashtus, his begadim are also a Rishon l'tumah because they were moved by the Zav. But on the other hand, they're not an avatuma. Now, over here, the question is the Rishon and avatuma? Does it have a din of Mishkav Azov, Merkav Azov? So that's the Chiddush. Ari big de ator tmei medres. The Chiddush is that the begadim are tami medres misafik, but tumasim besafik, because Shema doras hazov aleim, because maybe the Zav was doras aleim. V'chein nido sheyoshva im atehera b'mito. The 2 of them sat on a bed. Is again begodeh tmei medres. The beged is tami medres, because there's a concern that maybe the nida sat on the begodim of the Torah. So now obviously the Tehera is Tmeya anyways, because the nida is doch metame Mishkav Umoshav. So the bed itself is doch Tomei Medres, is Tomei Mishkav Umoshav. And now the person that's sitting on the bed is also Tomei, even if the nida didn't move her. But Lepelda is also Tomei because the Mishkav Umoshav is metame someone that's Yeshiv Allah. So Memela, but he's only Tomei Tumas Erev. He's only becomes on Arishon L'Tumah. Here the question is, do the begodim become Tmeim Tmeias Medes? So that's the chiddush, that the begodim become Tmeim Medes. Chutz Mikipa Sheberesha, because the Kipa Sheberesha, obviously, the nida didn't sit on. V'chein abgodim Sheberesha Nes Shebesfina Zeicha Teirim. In other words, if you have begodim that are hanging on top of the sail of a ship, so over there's no kshash that there was any sitting on those begodim. So again, those begodim which Sheberesha Nes Shebesfina are also Teirim. But those begodim that there's a kshash that maybe the nida sat on or the zov sat on them, so they are tamei tumas medres misafik. Halacha hey, hanitchag b'rechayim sha'agoy b'teichem. You have a rechayim, a mill, and over there it's crowded. In other words, it's a crowded area, and the goy is in this crowd, in this rechayim. Now the zov is not a goy has a din of a zov. A goy has a din of a zov ukiyetzabe. So a goy is a zov midrabanan or a zov mamish ukiyetzabe, a zov, a nida, a zov. So the din is a hare begodov tmei medus. The begodim of this person that's nitchag b'rechayim. In other words, you have a adam toir which is in a rechayim, which is a crowded rechayim, and there's a goy in that rechayim, or there's a zov or someone similar to a zov, and he's not aware that he touched the zov or that the zov touched him. But nevertheless, hare begodov tmei medus, the begodim atomi medus. The ezi rechayim amr. What kind of rechayim are we talking about? B'rechayim shemenadnus akarka. So in other words, we're talking about a mill where, as a result of the mill, the karka shakes, and therefore there's always a concern that maybe the goy was moved or the zov was moved, and he was pushed over onto the begodim of this Torah. So in other words, since we're dealing with a crowded area, so all people are standing next to each other, and we're dealing with a mill where, as a result of the mill, people are moving involuntarily. They're moving as a result of the mill, which is causing them to move. So there's always a concern that maybe the goy or the zov was moved, and Memela he landed on one of the begodim of this Torah, and Memela it's Tommy Medis. And V'davar Borer Ushatum Ezu B'Safik Shem and Nekar Atom V'Doris Al Big Deator. So the concern is that maybe he was moved, and Memela he was Deis Al Big Deator.